Yes, I purchased an iPhone 7. I know a lot of you are wondering, Greg, you just purchased an iPhone SE. Why the heck did you do that? Now I have two phones. I don't know what I'm going to do with this one. I think I'm going to give it to my mom for Christmas or something. Hope she doesn't watch this video. I wanted to try out the newest and best from Apple. This is the Apple Experiment after all. I know I've gone over the 30-day thing. That's why I'm just calling these videos Apple Experiment. I figured I should try out the newest and greatest. Now this isn't the iPhone 7 Plus, so I don't have the dual camera array or the large screen with a slightly higher pixel density or anything like that. But I am getting, well, it's a flagship phone, basically, from Apple. And I'm going to give you my raw impressions right now. Let's discuss build quality first. Do I like the new design? That's a trick question because it's not actually a new design. In fact, Apple's been recycling this style of iPhone for the past 2 or 3 generations now. In fact, back to the iPhone 6. If I put these next to each other, you wouldn't really notice much of a difference apart from the fact that the antenna bands wrap around the phone instead of through the phone. The camera protrudes just a bit more and has a slightly larger opening. The flash looks a tiny bit different. The home button is not a physical button anymore. I don't know if you knew that. They didn't really advertise this very much on Apple's website. They were pretty discreet about it, actually. When I first picked up this phone, I don't know how I'm going to explain this to you because, well, you're just watching it. You're not holding it and actually doing it. But when you push the home button in an iPhone 7 or an iPhone 7 Plus, get ready for a surprise. It's not actually a button. In fact, when you push whatever this little indentation, I guess, on the glass, what happens is there's a little motor back there and it just vibrates. It just moves and gives the feeling of a push. In fact, when you click the button, even the click itself is fake because if you turn the phone off and try to push the home button in, nothing's going to happen. It's going to feel like it's a jammed button, like you're pushing anywhere else on the glass. But when you push it with the phone on, you hear a slight little click. I don't know if you're probably not going to hear it when I do it, but this little click right here. Okay, that sounds 100% mechanical, right? That's actually fake, all of it. Here's, I guess, a way that I can prove that to you. So I'm going to cover up the speaker and I'm going to click the button again, and you tell me if you hear anything. That was me clicking. Thumb off, thumb on. I'm basically covering up the speaker that's projecting the sound out from the phone, but you can't hear it when I'm covering it. So yeah, this is all fake down here. It's all artificial. It's very weird. I don't mind it. It's a different feeling. It feels like I'm pushing the entire bottom end of the phone into the phone, if that makes sense. Like the entire screen is just kind of going like that when I push it. It's just different. It's a lot different from the very mechanical feeling of a physical home button like the iPhone 5S, 6, and the 6S. So that's something that kind of caught me off guard. I think it's cool. I don't know if it's going to stick around, but it's something to get used to say the least. Let's move on to camera quality next. That was actually a big reason why I was interested in trying out the new iPhone. I knew that not much had changed in terms of just how fluid the operating system was, any of that. We'll get to the performance here in a sec. As for the camera, you're looking at a 12 megapixel f1.8 aperture with optical image stabilization. That's something I loved on my Note 4 when I was an Android user, and as you can see, these clips right here, just my brother and I walking down the sidewalk. I'm actually walking while I'm filming, but you can't really tell that I am. That's optical image stabilization, folks. It looks very, very smooth. It's not choppy or, very, I guess, cut up. It looks very fluid. You can definitely tell the difference between those that have it and those that don't, and I'm glad Apple has made this one a staple. In terms of picture quality, 12 megapixels, that f1.8 aperture means that you're going to get some stunning images, especially in low light situations. It just means that your camera is going to take in a lot more light, which will aid in those low light shots. You won't see as much of that blurry kind of fuzziness that you get in low light situations. That's something that wider aperture will definitely help you out with. As for the front-facing camera, we're looking at 7 megapixels. I just have the specs up here. I don't know these by heart. F2.2 aperture, which is still pretty good. That's, some modern phones today still use an F2.2 aperture on their rear-facing cameras, so we're looking at excellent quality for the front-facing camera. You're seeing an example right there. And then 1080p at 30 FPS, 720p at 240 FPS. So even slow-mo with the front-facing camera. I actually didn't know that. I'm going to try that out. Now onto speaker quality. Just because they removed the headphone jack, which we'll get to as well, that doesn't mean they replaced it with a second speaker. This is still just a microphone, and over here you have your speaker on the bottom. Great Apple quality as usual. And then on top here, we have a second speaker. That's something new. So you're actually getting a stereo effect as a result of the second speaker. It's not as, I guess, clear and just crisp sounding as the bottom speaker, but nonetheless it is there. And if you're just watching something like a YouTube video or I don't know, listening to some comedy show or whatever, and you don't want to have your phone out like this and have to turn up your volume, you can literally just put it up to your ear and listen to it like this. I found this is actually pretty cool. It looks like you're talking on the phone, even though you might actually just be, I don't know, listening to some music video or something like that. As for performance, apart from the camera, which we just discussed, the Apple A10 Fusion, one of the most powerful mobile-grade CPUs available, packed into the Apple iPhone 7. But what does that mean? Not much, actually. In fact, because iOS is such a lightweight operating system to begin with compared to something like Android, moving from, say, an iPhone 6S, or as I did in my case, an iPhone SE, to the iPhone 7 isn't going to blow your mind. You're not going to see those huge performance gains like you did between something like a Galaxy S3 and a Galaxy S6. It's just, the differences aren't there, and it's because, well, the iPhone 6S was already super fast, and upgrading for the sake of the performance benefits the iPhone 7 offers would be kind of crazy in my opinion. Sure, the Geekbench scores say otherwise, but like I said, going back to the operating system, there wasn't really much lag to begin with in the iPhone 6S, even as far back as maybe the iPhone 5S, I would argue. That's where you would start to see the performance gains taper off, and in that case, I would recommend an iPhone 7. Now, I'm not running 10.1. Apparently, that's supposed to be a huge performance boost for the iPhone 7. There is a bit of a delay when I close apps. Sometimes when I transition in the multitasking window, things get a little delayed, but that was instantaneous. I don't know what I'm talking about. But 10.1 is supposed to fix a few of those minor issues. It's already blazing fast. The differences between the iPhone SE and the iPhone 7, or the iPhone 6S and the iPhone 7, are marginal, and in my book do not justify the $600 price tag of the iPhone 7, unless you plan on trading in your iPhone 6S or SE or whatever for that $300 trade-in thing that Best Buy and a few others are doing. I'll have links to those, I guess, deals in the video's description if you're interested. Now let's talk about what's not included in the iPhone 7, and that's a headphone jack. Is that a problem for you? It's likely a problem for you. It's probably why you're watching this video. You want to know what I have to say about it. It kind of shied me away from the iPhone 7 in the first place, I'll admit. That's why I didn't wait for this to be released when I started the Apple experiment. I said, well, there's no way I'm going to want a phone that doesn't have a headphone jack. That's super weird. But Apple actually remedied the situation in my case. I don't know if it will be in your case. Obviously, if you plan on charging your phone and listening to headphones at the same time, that's going to be an issue. But they did include a Lightning cable to 3.5mm headphone jack converter. So you can use pretty much any standard headset that you already had that you were in fear of not being able to use as a result of not having a standard headphone jack. But then on top of that, they also include just a typical Apple headset that plugs directly into the Lightning port. So you have two different solutions there. Obviously, like I said, if you want to charge your phone at the same time, that's going to be a problem. You have to buy some kind of adapter. I'm pretty sure Apple sells that adapter. I'll link it in this video's description. But it hasn't been a deal breaker for me. I don't feel like I want to go take back the phone because it doesn't have a headphone jack. So I think they did a good job. In most cases, I can't speak for everyone, obviously. Everyone has different tastes, different opinions. But in my case, I don't feel inclined to return this. I don't feel disappointed that one's not there because, I mean, even if I wanted to listen to music with my old headset that otherwise wouldn't be compatible with the phone, I can just use the adapter. And I can't think of really any case where I'd want to listen to something with a headset and charge my phone at the same time unless I was like binge watching Netflix or something. So a friend of mine said that was an issue for him, but I would say in most cases you're going to be okay without having the headphone jack. Yeah, shocker. I never thought I would say that, but now that I have the phone and I've gotten to play around with it for a while, I'm not disappointed that it's not there. Who knows, maybe it will be a thing. Maybe. So to wrap this up, do I regret purchasing this? Now keep in mind, for the entire Apple experiment, everything that I have obtained from Apple has been out of my own pocket. So I've been purchasing basically everything at Best Buy. The guys over at Best Buy, I'm sure, love me by now. I've spent over $2.5 grand at Best Buy the past month or so. But after tax, this phone came out to about $700. It's a 32GB version for Verizon. It's unlocked. I didn't buy it with a contract or anything like that. I don't do contracts. So I'm a little regretful about my purchase. Just a little bit. In terms of just overall feel, how the phone feels, how fluid it is, what I can do with it, it's no different than my iPhone SE, straight up. And if you don't have an iPhone SE, but you have something like an iPhone 6S, it's basically the same thing. The iPhone SE is just as powerful, if not a little bit more powerful than the 6S, because the screen on the SE is a bit smaller, so less processing power required to keep the screen running. By the way, battery life is okay. My iPhone SE's battery life is better. I suppose I do regret purchasing this, but I'm not going to return it. I'm going to keep using it, keep testing it, keep experimenting with it, make a few more videos, I guess, and keep talking to you guys about it. It's just a different side of things that I know a lot of you are not accustomed to. I know that a lot of you don't agree with Apple and their way of doing things. That's actually why I started the experiment in the first place. So, I mean, at least appreciate that fact, right? Like, I'm willing to spend money for the sake of all of you to, I guess, at least reinforce your negative views of Apple if you have negative views, and then, I don't know, maybe get those who aren't as negative towards Apple a bit more excited about the future of Apple, because I think that the iPhone 8, or whatever they call it, probably the iPhone 8, is supposed to be a really big deal. So that's it. I purchased an iPhone 7 for $700, and I regret my decision. A lot of you are probably saying, surprise, surprise, Greg, you should have seen that coming. But hey, for the sake of science and experimentation, right? This is the Apple experiment after all. If you appreciate this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Give it a thumbs down if you feel the complete opposite. Or if you hate everything about life, be sure to click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Stay tuned for more content like this and a few PC builds, including Walter White version 2.0. This is Science Studio. Thanks for learning with us.